All right, we turn to this. The Trump administration continues to build a case against former President Obama. They're accusing him of manufacturing intelligence about Russian election interference.
And Democrats say the White House is trying to create a big distraction. We've got Doug Luzader live for us in Washington. With more on this, Doug, what more might we hear from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, today, or anything about their accusations here that the Obama administration manufactured this Russian collusion hoax?
Yeah, Bob and Araxia, good morning. We've heard a lot from her already. She had another kind of document release yesterday that she says makes the case that President Obama kind of led this effort to shift the argument about Russian interference in the 2016 election just before he left office. Now, I guess the question now is what happens with these documents? They have been turned over to the Justice Department. This is a possible criminal referral, which raises the possibility, of course, of criminal charges. It seems very unlikely we'd actually see any kind of charges put up against former President Obama. Now, other individuals could potentially face some. We don't know. But Democrats say this is all about nothing, that, in fact, this is an effort to kind of cover up what's going on with the Jeffrey Epstein issue that has really kind of enveloped the White House in recent days.
Well, speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, so there's a report out that President Trump was told he was mentioned. His name was in there several times in the Epstein files. What more do we know about that? How was he mentioned? That is where we don't know much detail.
Right. That's the thing. This means nothing, or it could mean everything. It certainly, I think, comes as no surprise that that President Trump would be mentioned somewhere in these documents. I mean, the documents have got to be extensive. This was a big investigation involving a lot of powerful people that a lot of whom did nothing wrong, but were simply in kind of Epstein's circle. And we know that President Trump spent some time with Epstein. So this may be completely innocuous. On the other hand, Araxia, to your point, context is everything here. And we don't know what the context of those mentions really is because these documents remain under seal.
I have to say, Doug, I mean, you do a great job of covering all sides of this because watching the morning programs this morning, and it really was almost like a tale of two cities. It was all or nothing. They were either talking about Jeffrey Epstein's and the Jeffrey Epstein files or this Russian collusion hoax. It was either one or the other, and it'll be curious to see which of these storylines really gains traction, especially with the media and the American public.
And if you're watching that question closely, imagine the White House right now, because they're really hoping to spend more time talking about things like the Russian allegations rather than what's going on with Epstein. But there is a lot of interest in Epstein. And we've talked about these recent Fox News poll numbers about the Epstein question, where there is just a lot of distrust out there among voters about how the federal government has handled this issue. And, of course, this has been a huge issue for Trump's supporters now for years.
Yeah. What I also find interesting is that it's all about deep state, right? And whether or not there was a deep state trying to cover up the Epstein, or there was a deep state that was trying to push a Russian collusion hoax. So really interesting. We'll see what does stick and what happens from here on out. Not a dull day there in Washington, Doug. Thank you so much.
That's for sure. Thank you, Doug.
Guys.